All right, let's jump right back into the saga of the Celestine Company. So they've just taken down the ogre Ulf, a massive victory for sure. But, celebrations don't last long in the heart of a dark mountain. A much deeper, much older danger was waiting for them. I mean, that triumph over Ulf and his wolves, that was pure grit. But the company knew, deep down, the job wasn't finished, not by a long shot. The orc threat was still festering in these halls. And plus, they now had those new wolf pups to think about. They had to get them to safety and press on. And what they found next? Well, it was going to test a whole lot more than just their fighting skills. So after a much-needed rest, they head back into that oppressive darkness. And this is where the journal gets really vivid. It describes this amazing dwarven stonework, a true sign of a lost age of incredible artistry. But now, it's all corrupted, twisted. It's basically become a defiled fortress for these savage orc raiders. As they push on into this huge, cavernous chamber, their whole mission just flips on its head. Suddenly, it wasn't just about clearing out monsters anymore, because behind a set of crude wooden bars, they found out just how cruel these orcs really were. They'd taken prisoners. And listen, these weren't soldiers or adventurers. They were just regular townsfolk from Blaisdell, the very town the company swore to protect. This changed everything. It meant the orcs weren't some distant problem up on a mountain. No, they were actively raiding villages, kidnapping people, and bringing terror right to their doorsteps. And this moment, this right here, it just perfectly captures the heart of this company. You've got Taklin, their paladin, a holy warrior sworn to protect the innocent, and his response is just immediate, no hesitation. They break the locks, personally walk the captives to safety, give them food for the journey, and only then do they get back to the grim work ahead. People first, always. Okay, so pushing deeper, their search turns up this cleverly hidden door leading into a secret passage. And of course, it was guarded. They run into a trio of orcs, but this wasn't just another bunch of brutes. One of them was different, and a whole lot more dangerous.
Yup, an orc shaman? She just unleashes this barrage of nasty spells, turning what should have been a straightforward fight into this chaotic, magical duel. A spellcaster means these orcs are more organized, more intelligent. But this is where the Celestine Company really clicks. Tucklin becomes this unmovable wall of dwarven steel. Winter, the young sorceress, meets magic with her own raw, wild power. And Tango's arrows, they just fly with pinpoint deadly precision. It was just this perfect storm of teamwork that brought that shaman down.
So, with the shaman dealt with, there's another door nearby. And from behind it, there's this strange, unsettling sound. It's Irie's turn to shine. As the halfling rogue, stealth and scouting, that's her specialty. So she slips on through to check it out. Just imagine hearing that in the dead silence of an underground fortress, rushing water, and this constant, unnerving buzzing. Inside, Irie finds dead orcs scattered everywhere and scorched walls. But the sound, that buzzing, it's coming from this jagged hole in the floor, a shaft that just descends into pure darkness. Before anyone could even really process what they were seeing, the dead orcs, the burn marks, that question got answered in the most terrifying way you can imagine. The buzzing got louder and louder, and then horror just erupted from that dark shaft. Stirges, a whole swarm of them. Think of a nightmare mix of a bat and a giant mosquito. These vile, leathery things just burst out of that hole in a complete feeding frenzy. The party was caught totally off guard as the swarm just descended on them. And in the middle of all that chaos, Zaya, the party's half-elf cleric and their healer, she gets hit the hardest. 3 of these things latch right onto her, their disgusting proboscises just draining the life out of her. It was this desperate, frantic struggle to fight them off before they could bleed or dry, a real test of her own toughness and the party's ability to protect their healer. After finally taking down the last of those blood-crazed stirges, the party gets a second to breathe. But the danger wasn't over. Not even close. Those scorched walls and dead orcs Irie saw earlier, that was a clue. The room had another secret, and this one was explosive. Oh, this is such a classic rogue moment. Irie knew there was a trap. She just couldn't find the trigger. And in a really cruel twist, her searching for the trigger was the very thing that set it off. Flames just erupt everywhere. But lucky for her, the trap was old. Its magic weakened by the centuries. It singed her badly, but it wasn't fatal. And now that she knew its secret, well, she was able to disable it for good.
So let's recap. An orc shaman, a stirge swarm, and a fire trap. The onslaught was just relentless. They were victorious, sure, but that victory came at a serious cost. The party had to take a hard look at their situation and make a tough call.
And yeah, this table really sums it up perfectly. Zaya, their cleric, is wounded and pretty much out of divine spells. Irie, the rogue, is singed and exhausted. The entire company, even though they won, is just running on fumes.
So ultimately, they made the smart call. The only call, really. Pushing forward, wounded and drained into that dark, buzzing shaft, that would have just been suicide. You know, sometimes wisdom is just knowing when to stop, rest, and regroup. And that is where this journal entry leaves us, on a massive cliffhanger. They're resting for now, but the source of that buzzing, the stirge nest itself, is still down there, unexplored. And it leaves you with this chilling question. What kind of horror is lurking down in that shaft that was so terrible even the orcs decided to set a trap on the outside of the room? We'll have to wait for the next entry to find out.